Now the question is, what is this quality of sound in cinema, which is somehow you guys were producing, and that is very difficult to produce now, and somehow there's communication some gone haywire. The people, the same people, the same directors and producers, they are not looking for that kind of quality anymore. So what is that organics happening in terms of aesthetics of sound in cinema?
Yeah.
And understanding the sound from the industry point of view. So what is that?
Yeah. So to zero in on this thing, we have to again go back into what we've been doing over the last 10 years. So what has practically happened is, while we were very busy trying to cater to good sound, and while we were trying to cater to a very niche way of working for our directors, artists, the thing is that over the last 10 years, a lot of films have not worked. A lot of films didn't click with the audiences. A lot of films have done very well, but a lot of films have not. So when producers see the overall picture, they realize that they have to amortize the risk at some level. So at that level, I think they are very skeptical about the spends, to make sure that they can at least cover their risk and break even, or make profits, at least not get into losses. So the question came is, what is the bare minimum cost that one can avail to make sure that they can get the product up and running? That's why the whole slashing started happening, because movies were not working. But movies not working has nothing to do with the sound design or the sound studio. It has got a lot to do with other disciplines like writing, like direction, like producing, production, all of these factors, which I think is something that parallelly needs like good leadership, good inputs, and they have to find the sweet spot, which they have not been working very sincerely on. There are certain directors who are still very skeptical about the quality of sound, and thank God they're still around, even though we are working at much lesser rates. We are still glad that we are working with them, because regardless, it's enjoyable to work with them in that way, in the same way that we were working, is because they still understand the value and respect the process a lot. I think it is purely the the number of films that have not worked, which is completely directly responsible for kind of bringing the costs down. One. Two is that we have a lot of costs which is while shooting, while in production, which have gone up. Like, so when a person wants to do a production, the cost of people, the cost of equipment while shooting, the cost of food, transport, whatever, the logistics of a shoot. So production cost has really gone up. And this production cost going up is, of course, it's much regulated, because there's proper bodies involved, there's a federation involved, there's people who are trying to put it together in a much more organized way. But this has gone up, and the overall cost of the film has gone down. So what does it leave you with? It leaves you with pre-production and leaves you with post-production. So these are the only two places where the producer can really crunch costs. So we have lost out on a lot of our budgets because of production costs going up, and the total cost of the film skewing down. So this is one of the reasons why we are getting crunched. Also because we don't have federations. I mean, post-production doesn't have associations. Post-production doesn't have a minimum wage system. Post-production doesn't have any kind of securities, any kind of assurances from anybody, any governmental body or any other kind of body which regulates how this whole system will operate. I mean, after 25 years of cinema, it's a shame. And we have tried, I mean, I have personally tried to ask around and figure out, how, because even down south, they have guilds and they have associations which regulate certain kinds of rules, so that they make sure that people are not exploited. People who are working at that stage are not exploited, people who are working at that stage have some kind of a minimum wage system. But it's very difficult to bring about some change here because all the studio owners and all, and in fact also people from existing technical associations haven't been able to put together the whole group and the rules and regulations in place. So this has definitely this also affected the process quite a bit. So now, like with all of these things in tow, the thing is for people who are very serious about their work and about their time and about their value, I think they are really in two minds about what holds for them in the future. And from what I've seen is that a lot of the boys who are good engineers, who are serious about their work, and they have basically moved on to other markets because they see better possibilities there, they see better value for themselves there, they see better opportunities for films and budgets over there, one of the main reasons. So this also entails costs, also entail equipment. If today we continue to get ill-funded for say the next 5 to 10 years, it will come down to human resources, it will come down to technology. We cannot buy the equipment we want to buy if we don't have the money. So these are the reasons why all of this is going in a different direction.
Now the producer's point of view, so-called quote-unquote industry point of view, they must be knowing that if you minimize the cost of anything, the quality will go down. That's like a very simple economics.
But the producers are interfaced by directors, and directors are interfaced by the post-production people. So the producer never has the opportunity to be made aware to be made aware of the implications of the importance of the process of post-production. We don't have money for VFX, we don't have money for CG, we barely have some money for color correction and edit, we barely have some money for sound, and we are forced to finish or complete whatever we are doing in the given means. And this is where I think a lot of the things get stuck. There are some directors who still are extremely aware of this process, and they ensure that they have enough funds in place to make sure that they can do VFX, CG, they can do a proper grade, they can do a proper mix, they can do everything well. I mean, over a period of time they can do lots of reviews and revisions if needed. But that is such a handful, I can count it up to 4 to 5 fingers.
So that means what is coming down to is understanding the importance of sound in cinema, or rather understanding the aesthetics of sound in cinema.
Yeah.
So something is lacking in that point. That is the main problem, because most of the directors, they are not understanding the kind of sound they are looking for, kind of required for a film, or something is somewhere is a problem. There's a problem in the communication gap in terms of the requirement.
Director becomes very important. And honestly, like in any other place, most directors come from writing, or most directors come from other walks of life, with their keen observations of life, and how they document it and they write about it, or they get inspired or influenced and write and do something. But I think here is where the importance of the producer starts coming into the picture. The producer globally is not the guy who pays money. The producer is the guy who basically ensures the quality of the product, working alongside with the director, where the director becomes the creative lead and the producer becomes the operative lead. And I personally think that today in our regional industry, we have a huge gap where it comes to good producing. Good producing means for a person to not only be able to handle people, not only to handle deals, not only to handle legal and accounting, but also to know the technical process and the importance of it. Here today, the reality is that for any of the producing guys who are in the picture, they don't work for the film, they work for the director. And what happens is, end of the day, if the director is happy, their job is done. They are not here to see what is the end product, and that's a big gap. I think they also, trying to get a good deal and impress on, the producer, they crush on the post-production guys so much that, they end up paying very little. But what they don't realize is that, that with such little payments, the guys at the post-production end are also very limited to be able to, deliver certain kind of a high quality product. So this little window is in the doldrums because none of the producers come from a technical background. They've never gone to film school, or they've never, been part of a technical process to understand where, your value is dropping. So I think this is something that there is a big difference between this industry and other industries. Like if you pick out a Malayalam industry or any other industry, a lot of the producers come from hardcore processes. They've been, TV producers who know the technical process. They understand, the importance of post-production, where they rely a lot on post-production to, put the film in good tow, so they can pay and get a good editor. They can pay and get a good grading work done. They can pay and get good sound done, and they can really take the film from being like 6 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. This is one of the big reasons.
You mean to say that we don't have enough educated producer?
Yeah, I think so. Undoubtedly.
So now the point is, what is that actual problem? Why the producer are not showing enough interest in making films, or getting into the organics of filmmaking, and doing nothing? They are not doing good business as well. So they are putting money, not doing business, and they are not getting into cinema logistics as well. That's a quite a stuck situation and weird.
Yeah.
So what is the main reason? Where is the actual problem? Where some black holes or something?
Yeah, I think this is the age of this is the time and the age of the producer where, like some people who are really skilled in the overall, overview of filmmaking, that they have the talent and the ability to understand the process. They have understanding of markets. They have connections. They have understanding of buyers. They have understanding of what kind of content sell, how they have to be presented. This is the age of presentation, to make sure that the presentation is totally up to the mark, and they are creating an identity for themselves. It is a time to basically have such people in the industry. I think another way of looking at it would be, what are our expectations of a producer who is basically not the guy who's just putting in the money, but who is the guy who is managing the money and the creatives together, and synergizing creatives, synergizing operations, and taking the whole thing together and focusing it to a market to make it commercially viable. So a producer, in my view, should be a guy who knows before the film is made, how to position the film, how to get the right amount of cap for the film, how much is the maximum spend for a film like this. Because if you make a film called X, the size of the audience, the market is of this kind of, the revenue can be of this kind, and hence you don't spend more than this to make sure that you break even, and there is a success of the project. So success of the project is very critical here, not in terms only of creatives but also of economics. But again, the economics of selling is very dependent on the creatives itself. So choosing a project becomes very critical. It is very important to understand what are the markets in which you're focusing the product. If you're working in Bengal, if you're doing a regional film for the Bengalis, there it's a very fragmented market. There is a segment of people who are very traditional, cultural. They like films that talk about deeply intrinsic intellectual values. Then there's a huge amount of people who like entertainment, who like song and dance, who like to be entertained. So I think it's very critical to find that balance where we are still struggling to find the median between the two of what is like out and out commercial entertainment and what is not. And I think that's where the producer's job comes into play. I would like to mention here that a lot of the smart directors who are very good directors themselves are actually their own producers. They have been directing and producing themselves, is why they have been successful to be able to continue what they're doing. I have great regard for people like that. I would like to name a few. I would like to name Kaushik Ganguly as one of them. I think besides being a very good director, he's a very good producer as well, because he takes on the responsibility of the entire process on himself, and he conducts it in a very, very, very nice way. I think they're the only ones in the industry who have right now got the leadership and a better understanding of this whole space, where it comes to producing. Producer's job is definitely, producer's job is to be a producer and not let the director think about all these things, but the director has a lot of work to do. He has got 24 hours and he has his time within which he has to focus entirely his entire process of thoughts in how to conduct the creatives, and not to think about how to make it viable, feasible. So this is where we are right now. Honestly, this is where we are right now. So we still have those 4-5 people like we spoke about, who are great directors and great producers, is why what they do is fully supported in terms of post-production, in terms of vision by their teams. But there's a lot of other filmmakers who come from not from the producing angle, but who come purely as directors and writers, who need this support, and they need that kind of guidance. I think that infrastructure would totally be created once the need is created, and it is important to understand the need first, and only then the need can be created to find such people. And there are many people out here, I believe, who are very good at this, who can be very good at this, who can take on the lead and be a part of a project where they can put in a lot of value.
The seniors, the industry seniors, should take more responsibility. They are leading the whole show, and of course with their own point of views. So are you referring them as the seniors? But they are really seniors in terms of money, in terms of decision making, in terms of many other factors. They are seniors. Or else you are referring to other people who are seniors and should take more responsibility. What are seniors in this case?
See, I think going back to the whole saying, with power comes responsibility. So whoever has the power, the financial power, the means, the public face, these are the people who are basically people who people listen to, people who the government listens to. These are the people we're talking about. These people are existent. We have very, very senior actors, we have very senior directors, we have very senior people in the business. It is important for them to step aside and put 10% of their life and time to look at the legacy they're leaving behind for this industry. It's very important to see what the legacy of this place is. We come from rich tradition, we come from rich cultures, we have rich cinema, we are known for our literature, but how we are right now using what we have, which has been given to us, and what we are making of it is the big question. And this can only be done by the ones who understand the importance of the legacy that they're leaving behind. I'm sure that people are working on it, and it might be not be visible or evident or tangible, but we are also looking at, a more proactive way and means in which all of what is getting planned, all of what is getting put into the right place, percolates down, right down to the grassroots levels. And there's a better synergy through bodies, through means, to basically set this whole ecosystem in a more conducive, harmonious environment. There are new people coming, there are people who are growing inside the industry over the years. I am one of them. I'm coming from the place of my observations, my individual observations, and this is what I think. It's my opinion, and I personally feel that globally, in any place, in any country, even countries where there is lesser lack of freedom of speech, even those places have structure. So we're talking about structure over here, and the structure means that there has to be a mother, there has to be a father, and then there's the rest of the family. So this whole relationship has to be bridged in a way so that we are not only looking at what we are doing to ourselves, because we are on our own, and I am on my own with my entire bigger family of regional cinema. Regional cinema, it's on its own, and we have to take care of ourselves, and the only way to take care is basically to ensure that we bring forward the smallest of the issues on our table, where we can discuss what is really going on, and we find ways to kind of learn what we've done and where we've gone wrong, and to find ways to troubleshoot it. For that, I think one of the greatest referencing examples would be Korean cinema, and the Korean state, and how Korean state has developed a structure for Korean cinema, and how the content that they are producing now is so big globally, in Latin America, in the US, in India. There's so much of it going around, only because they have been given the means to create. And to do this, we need to really sit down and kind of understand, create a leadership which can really move in this direction.